Together, we are expanding access to transportation. Seems like maybe it's a small issue, it's a big issue. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
Just look at that chart. I mean, you can just see it going up and up and up. And Rahel, I just think we need to make one thing clear. This was a bigger jump than Wall Street was expecting this morning.
Well, look, as you accurately pointed out, when I predicted he was going to attack. Mm-hmm. Others were saying, no, he's not going to. He's going to invade.
How long is this going to last? How long is this onslaught going to last?
As long as it's going to take. We're there till it takes whatever time it takes. We cannot let him prevail.
It can take months. It can take years.
It could.
Mm-hmm. You think the war could take years to 10?
No, you said that.
Yeah,
you said it could, okay?
It could.
No, it could. And continue, which we must do every day, continue to bear witness. To keep alive the truth and honor of the Holocaust, horror of the Holocaust, honor those we lost.
Dagan, this is a lot worse than we thought.
We also know people are pulling back because the economy is expected to contract in the second quarter. Even the GDP now out of the Atlanta Fed is at negative 1.2%. It was expected to rise 0.6% for the third straight month. It came in hotter than that. So if you look at the monthly trajectory, core prices are getting hotter, not cooler.
Yep.
That's one of the biggest things.
Year over year, I'm seeing this right now. That's the hottest number since February of '81.
My hope is that the Republican Party moves back to a normal position and is not this mega party that it's become in many ways. There are those who thought with the last administration we sort of walked away from the Middle East, that we were going to create a vacuum that China and or Russia would fill. Mm-hmm. And we can't let that happen. And I took a shot. I said I was running for 3 reasons, and no one in my campaign agreed with it. I said, no.
How long are we going to keep saying this is the worst of it?
The core inflation remains too high, which is why we need action. And I just want to underscore, if there's one thing to take away from this report, it's that there is more urgency now than ever in Congress moving to pass a bill to try to build more domestic semiconductors, to try to bring down the price of those goods. You see across this report things like used cars and new vehicles, those prices holding up. That is not principally driven by demand. It's driven by supply and constrained supply. We know how to solve that. We should have solved that months ago, but we now have a moment. We need to do that. If there's any takeaway from this report, it should be that.
Although that brings us right back to the circular argument, Brian, that more spending is not what you typically do in the face of high inflation. How do we break out of that circle?
No, look, I think you have to look at the unique situation that we're in as an economy and think about how do we build more supply? How do we increase the productive capacity of our economy so that we actually can supply more goods, bring prices down? Obviously, mortgage rates are going to increase as the Fed continues to tighten. But as we do that, we need to keep home builders building supply, because we know that at core, the housing issue is a lack of affordable supply. It's been a decade or more in the making, but as we move through this transition, providing incentives, for example, for builders to continue to build affordable homes, as we do so, that's out of the traditional box of fiscal, Keynesian fiscal stimulus. It's more about how do we actually invest to build more capability here in the country that will help bring down prices.
Headline CPI much hotter than expected. If you strip out the all-important food and energy, and the Fed's much more reluctant to do that these days, it's also hotter, up 0.7%. The high water mark there was all the way back in April of last year when it was up 0.9, and that was 1981 level. 0.7, well, 0.7 is the smallest number since then. And if we look at year over year, this is really hot, up 9.1%, well above the 8.8 we were expecting, and 9.1% puts you at 1981, because 1981 covered 8.9 all the way up to 11%. And finally, the year-over-year core, which is becoming much more important to the Fed, up 5.9, also higher than expected.
Now, we may hear something today about the high gas prices and the need for more drilling. So I just wanted to share a few comments about that. It's like a heroin addict saying that the solution to heroin addiction is more heroin.